Meet the Dooleys. We are not your average family of 5. Here's Mom, who had so many goals in life. Mom had just gotten her dream job of being a lawyer and had just started working there and was loving every little thing about it. Dad had just gotten more involved into doing more work. They were loving everything about life and were just starting to talk about having kids. Mom had always thought about having a couple of kids and how excited she was getting to start a family. Dad was very excited too to see Mom that happy and see her smiling so much until one day, everything changed by one word: cancer. Mom was diagnosed with cancer in 1989, but not just any type of cancer. She was diagnosed with cervical cancer at the age 30. She was so upset to know that all of a sudden she was planning all of her life and getting ready to have kids, and then she got diagnosed with cancer. George and her were very upset because they knew doctor visits and x-rays and more was going to come into effect. They went to the doctor and heard that she was going to have surgery and get her uterus and some other body parts taken out. They were so sad and so upset because they thought at that time that meant no family.
After I had my surgery that we weren't going to be able to have children by natural means. But for 5 years we couldn't even think about adopting because no adoption agency was going to look at you until you're 5 years cancer free. So in that 5 years we both did a lot of soul searching. And there were a lot of questions about whether we even were meant to be parents. And then when the 5 years were up, we decided that we would start looking into adopting.
So after a couple months went by, and they learned that there was an adoption agency called Abrazo Adoption. For a while, they got a call that a little girl was in need of a home. Her name was Brittany, and who had been living in a foster home and was in need of a good home to live in. My parents were so thrilled to know that all of a sudden, they just might have a daughter to start their family. George and Karen ended up going to meet her and fell in love with Brittany at first sight. They at the same time met the birth parents of Brittany, who were very nice people, whose names were Cheryl and Dean Franklin. George and Karen were so excited to start their family, and then came around a couple of years later, they got another call that a girl named Haley was ready to be adopted. But what they didn't know is that Haley was the youngest sister to Brittany, until they heard who the birth parents were of them. George and Karen were so thrilled to know that they were going to have 2 girls, but also 2 girls who are biological. Then the adoption agency called in 2001, saying that they had another little girl who's ready for adoption. But what they didn't know is that this little girl is biological to Brittany and Haley. This little girl's name was Trinity. Trinity took the longest time to adopt due to her other foster parents wanting to adopt her, and they automatically fell in love with her. The fostering parents were those parents that also wanted to take the child at the same time. But George and Karen put out a thing saying that they thought all 3 of the girls should be together. So they took out a search and started doing all this stuff to go to court. They ended up going to court and seeing that the parents were automatically in love with Trinity, but the judge decided that it would be better if Trinity went with Karen and George. Karen, before they got the 3 girls, had 5 failed adoptions, which were all boys. All of the boys were failed adoptions because either the parents wanted the baby back, or Karen also at one point was so sick she couldn't take care of them. So the failed adoptions happened, which really were a hard time for Karen.
That we ever thought we would end up with 3 girls, and especially we never thought we would end up with 3 biological siblings. But God did, and the road that He took us through to the family that we have today it was one that was full of a lot of spiritual growth and really opened our eyes to just the miracle.
Over the years, Karen realized one specific thing that stood out to her the most. She has realized that the rain does fall on the good and the bad alike. and that there are no perfect cases, but that the only difference between those who adopt successfully and those who don't is that those who do take babies home were those who kept going and didn't give up, even when hard times hit and plans were dashed on the shore. Time and time again, I've seen couples with failed adoptions rise to conquer, and when they came to take the right baby home, but they knew in their hearts why the others could have not worked out. It's a wisdom born in pain, to be sure, but who could better face the uncertainties and challenges of the years of parenting which follow?
I learned through my adoption journey is that God's timing isn't my timing, and that if I'm patient and if I trust Him, what He has in store for me is far better than anything I could ever imagine.
For the Dooleys, the family of 5, and the ones who have the story that will always be remembered. God is a blessing, and He knew what He was doing with Karen the day He gave her cancer. With this video, I've learned a lot about adoption and everything my parents went through while trying to get my sisters and I. But the one Bible verse that stood out to me the most was Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Mom, I am so happy that you showed me so much and that you have survived cervical cancer. Through this, you have shown me how to fight strong and how to never give up. And I'm so glad that I was able to be your daughter along with Brittany and Haley.